The crystalline dome stretched impossibly high above Ambassador Thomas Reed's head, its walls pulsing with veins of blue energy that carried the thoughts of 1,000 different species. He stood perfectly still in the center of a circle carved from what looked like compressed starlight, his hands clasped behind his back, watching as the most powerful beings in the galaxy decided whether humanity deserved to exist. The Galactic Council Chamber was a monument to alien engineering that defied human understanding. Floating platforms arranged in perfect geometric patterns held representatives from hundreds of worlds. The air itself seemed alive, shimmering with translation fields that converted the clicks, growls, harmonics, and psychic emanations of countless species into something approaching universal communication. Thomas had been standing in this circle for 8 hours without moving. Around him, the debate raged in languages that had existed before Earth's sun was born. The Hive Empress of Sector 9 clicked her razor-sharp mandibles in rhythmic patterns that Thomas's translation implant rendered as legal arguments for humanity's immediate sterilization. Her 6 eyes, each the size of a human head, reflected the chamber's ethereal light as she detailed 17 violations of Galactic Expansion Protocol 4.7.2. To his left, the Void Singers of the Andromeda Collective whispered in frequencies that made Thomas's bones ache. Their arguments flowed like liquid music, each note a carefully crafted accusation: unauthorized terraforming, faster-than-light travel without proper licensing, military expansion into restricted zones. The crystal monarchs of the Beta Quadrant hummed in harmonies that could reshape matter at the molecular level. Their song spoke of humanity's crime of achieving in 200 years what other species had taken millennia to accomplish. The harmony carried undertones of fear that Thomas found more interesting than the accusations themselves. High Chancellor Drakmor, whose species had ruled this corner of the galaxy for 12,000 years, leaned forward on his throne of compressed dark matter. His voice carried the weight of cosmic authority when he finally spoke. Human Reed, your species stands accused of 17 major violations of the Galactic Accords. Your people have expanded across 43 star systems without authorization. You have developed weapons technology that exceeds approved parameters. You have contaminated developing civilizations with your cultural influences. The penalty for such violations is complete planetary sterilization. The chamber fell silent. Hundreds of alien eyes, sensors, and consciousness fields focused on the lone human figure standing in the circle of judgment. Thomas raised his head slowly and smiled. High Chancellor, before you pass that sentence, may I ask you something? His voice was calm, conversational, as if he were discussing the weather instead of the extinction of his entire species. Drakmor's 4 arms gestured impatiently. This is not a forum for questions, human. You are here to receive judgment. Just one question, Thomas persisted, his smile never wavering. In all your years of galactic governance, how many species have achieved faster-than-light travel within their first 3 centuries of space exploration? The High Chancellor's reptilian features shifted into what might have been confusion. That information is irrelevant to these proceedings. Is it? Because according to our research, only 4 species in galactic history have achieved FTL technology that quickly. The Eternal Empire, which mysteriously vanished 6 million years ago. The Synthesis Collective, which disappeared 3 million years ago. The Hegemony of Worlds, gone 2 million years ago. Thomas paused, letting his words sink in. And humanity. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Several council members shifted uncomfortably on their platforms. Your point, human? Drakmor demanded. Thomas's smile widened. My point, High Chancellor, is that you've been making a fundamental error in judgment. You see, while you've been debating whether to declare war on humanity, every screen in the vast chamber suddenly flickered to life. Images flashed across them in perfect synchronization. Human ships emerging from hyperspace around the Council's 12 most important worlds. Orbital defense platforms going dark one by one across dozens of systems. Most impossibly of all, human soldiers standing in the corridors just outside this very chamber. We've been deciding whether to accept your surrender. Chaos erupted. The Void Singer's whispers became shrieks of alarm. The Crystal Monarch's harmony shattered into discordant panic. The Hive Empress rose to her full height of 12 feet, her mandibles clicking in patterns that Thomas's implant translated as increasingly creative death threats. Through it all, Thomas stood perfectly still, watching High Chancellor Drakmore with the patient expression of someone waiting for an inevitable conclusion. Impossible, Drakmore snarled. Our defenses are impenetrable. Our technology is millennia ahead of your primitive systems. Is it? Thomas asked. Chancellor, how long has it been since your people actually innovated something? When was the last time any species in this council developed new technology, instead of just refining what already existed? The chamber fell silent again, but this silence was different. It carried the weight of uncomfortable realization. You see, Chancellor, that's the real difference between humanity and the rest of the galaxy. You've all spent so long maintaining your perfect galactic order that you've forgotten how to adapt, how to improvise, how to think outside the parameters of your ancient protocols. Thomas gestured to the screen still displaying impossible images of human forces positioned throughout council space. While you were following proper diplomatic channels and scheduling formal hearings, we were studying your systems, learning your weaknesses, planning for contingencies you never imagined. Drakmore's voice dropped to a dangerous whisper. What do you want, human? What we've always wanted, Chancellor. The right to exist. The freedom to grow and explore and make our own mistakes. The same rights you've denied to every other species that showed too much promise. Thomas stepped forward, his feet touching the edge of the judgment circle for the first time in 8 hours. But here's what you need to understand. Those 3 species I mentioned earlier, the ones that achieved FTL travel as quickly as we did, they didn't vanish because of natural disasters or internal conflicts. They were eliminated. By the same galactic order that's trying to eliminate us now. The accusation hung in the air like a physical weight. Council members who had been allies for millennia looked at each other with new suspicion. We know about the cleansing protocols, Chancellor. We know about the population controls. We know about the technology suppression programs. The question is, how many of your own council members know they're participating in systematic genocide? Drakmore rose from his throne, his massive form radiating barely controlled rage. You dare accuse this council of— I don't accuse, Thomas interrupted. I present evidence. The screens changed again, this time displaying documents written in the High Chancellor's own handwriting. Termination orders, sterilization commands, a systematic catalog of species that had been quietly eliminated over the past 6 million years, all for the crime of advancing too quickly. The choice is yours, Chancellor. End this charade of a trial and negotiate with us as equals. Or explain to your council members why you've been signing their species' death warrants for millennia. For the first time in 12,000 years of rule, High Chancellor Drakmore had no response. Around him, the perfect order of the Galactic Council began to crack as representatives realized they weren't governing a peaceful federation. They were managing a slaughterhouse. Thomas. Reed smiled and waited for the galaxy to wake up. Captain Lisa Harper watched the tactical display with cold satisfaction as Operation Midnight Protocol unfolded across 17 star systems. From the bridge of the stealth destroyer Silent Thunder, she could see the impossible made real. Humanity had infiltrated the most secure installations in the galaxy without anyone noticing. Captain, Lieutenant Commander James Park called from the sensor station. We've confirmed successful insertion on all target worlds. The Council still has no idea we're in position. Harper nodded, her scarred face illuminated by the blue glow of holographic displays, showing the positions of 892 human vessels scattered across Council space. Each one was invisible to alien sensors, each crew member knowing they were part of the most audacious military operation in galactic history. Status on the quantum mines? She asked. All 63,000 units deployed and armed, Captain, reported Commander Williams from Tactical. Every hyperspace corridor, every major trade route, every military supply line between here and the galactic core is under our control. Harper allowed herself a small smile. While the Galactic Council had been scheduling diplomatic hearings and following proper protocols, humanity had been busy. Their mistake was assuming that a species capable of reaching the stars in under 2 centuries would wait patiently for bureaucratic extinction. The main screen shimmered, revealing Admiral Patricia Knox broadcasting from Earth's hidden command facility, buried 3 miles beneath the Antarctic ice. Her expression was granite carved from determination. Lisa reads given the signal from the Council chambers. Phase 2 is authorized. Show them what happens when they threaten Earth. Understood, Admiral. All units execute Shadow Strike. Across the galaxy, something unprecedented began to unfold. On the High Chancellor's homeworld of Kepler Prime, human infiltration teams simultaneously disabled 24 orbital defense platforms, their advanced cloaking technology making them invisible to sensors that had detected threats for 12 millennia. The aliens' own security systems registered nothing unusual, even as their most crucial defenses went offline. On the crystal world of Harmony Station, human engineers who had spent months disguised as maintenance workers activated hidden programs in the planet's power grid. Systems that had operated flawlessly for thousands of years began experiencing cascading failures that would take weeks to repair. But the masterstroke was still coming. "Captain," Park's voice carried barely contained excitement. "We're receiving confirmation from Team Oracle. They've penetrated the Council's Central Intelligence Network." Harper felt her pulse quicken. Team Oracle was humanity's deepest cover operation, a group of volunteers who had undergone surgical modification to pass as members of the silicon-based Nexus Collective. They had spent 3 years infiltrating the Council's most classified facilities, gathering intelligence that had made this entire operation possible. "What's their status?" "They're in position at the Central Data Core, Captain. When we give the signal, they can crash every major system in Council space simultaneously. Defense networks, communication arrays, even life support on critical installations." Park paused, his face going pale. "But Captain, they've discovered something else. Something about why the Council is really afraid of us." Before Harper could respond, her communications array lit up with an emergency transmission from the Council chambers. Reed's image appeared on screen, still standing in that circle of judgment. But now the camera angle had changed to show something impossible. Behind the Council chambers, visible through massive transparent walls, Harper could see the truth that made her blood freeze. The chambers weren't built on a planet or space station. They were constructed inside a hollow world, a planet-sized artificial structure that housed not just the government, but millions of beings who had never seen natural sky. And according to their long-range sensors, there were dozens of such structures throughout Council space, each one home to billions of inhabitants who had been living artificial lives for millennia. "Captain," Williams whispered, "if they have that kind of population control technology, that kind of engineering capability, how is our operation even working?" Harper stared at the impossible architecture on her screen and suddenly understood why Reed had looked so confident in the judgment chamber. The humans hadn't just infiltrated Council space. They had discovered that the galaxy's most advanced civilizations were living in elaborate prisons. The Council wasn't afraid of human expansion or unauthorized technology. They were afraid because humanity represented something that hadn't existed in their perfectly controlled galaxy for millions of years: genuine freedom. "Team Oracle, this is Silent Thunder," Harper spoke into her secure communicator. "What else have you found in those data cores?" The response came through layers of encryption, the voice of Agent Martinez, who had volunteered to have his bone structure altered to match Nexus physiology. "Captain, it's bigger than we thought. The Council species aren't governing separate worlds. They're managing reservations. Every world, every population, every technological development has been carefully controlled for longer than recorded history." "How long?" "The oldest records we can access go back 8 million years, but the pattern suggests it's been going on much longer." "Captain, I don't think the Council species are the real rulers of this galaxy. I think they're middle management." Harper felt the deck plates vibrate beneath her feet as Silent Thunder's engines came online. Around her, the bridge crew worked in tense silence, each one beginning to understand that their mission had just become something far more significant than a rescue operation. "Agent Martinez, are you saying there's someone above the Council?" "Not someone, Captain, something. The data core's reference entities called the Shepherds. They're not mentioned in any public records, but according to these files, they've been directing galactic development for longer than any current species has existed." Harper's tactical display suddenly erupted with new contacts. Ships were emerging from hyperspace throughout the galaxy. Not Council vessels, but something else entirely. Massive constructions that appeared to be built from dark matter itself, their hulls absorbing all electromagnetic radiation like three-dimensional black holes. "Captain," Park called urgently, "we're reading massive energy signatures from those new contacts. They're powering up weapon systems that register beyond our measurement scales. Team Oracle, get out of there now." Harper commanded. "All human forces initiate emergency dispersal protocols." But Martinez's voice crackled back through the comm with desperate urgency. Negative, Captain. I'm accessing something called the harvest schedule. These shepherds, they're not just controlling galactic development, they're farming it. What do you mean, farming? Every few million years, when the managed species reach a certain technological level, they're harvested. Completely. The survivors are genetically reset and redistributed to start the cycle again. Captain, according to this schedule, the next harvest is planned for 6 months from now. Harper felt the universe shift around her as the implications hit home. All council species. Every single one. Including the High Chancellor's people, the Hive Empress, all of them. But Captain, there's something else. Humanity is marked as an anomaly requiring immediate termination. We're not part of their farming cycle because we developed too fast and outside their control parameters. The Shepherd vessels had completed their deployment throughout the galaxy, their impossible geometries casting shadows that seemed to bend space-time itself. Harper realized that everything Reed was doing in the council chambers, all of humanity's careful planning and infiltration, might be exactly what these shepherds wanted. They weren't rescuing the galaxy from tyranny. They were exposing themselves to entities that had been manipulating entire civilizations since before Earth's sun had formed. Martinez, how long do we have? Unknown, Captain. But these shepherd ships, they're not just weapons platforms. They're processing facilities. Mobile slaughterhouses designed to harvest entire civilizations efficiently. Harper looked at her tactical display showing human forces scattered across the galaxy, suddenly understanding that their greatest military victory might have just become their species' final trap. The galaxy wasn't just bigger and more dangerous than they had imagined. It was a carefully maintained garden, and they had just announced themselves to the gardeners. Dr. Rachel Morgan's hands trembled as she analyzed the final data packet transmitted from Agent Martinez before communication was lost. Deep within the Cheyenne Mountain complex, in humanity's most secure research facility, she was about to uncover a truth that would redefine everything they thought they knew about existence itself. Computer, display genetic analysis comparison across all known species, she commanded. The holographic display materialized above her workstation, showing DNA structures from every council species that humanity had encountered. What she saw made her heart stop. Every single alien species shared identical base genetic markers, not similar markers that suggested common evolution, but identical sequences that could only mean one thing. They were all the same species, artificially modified and scattered across the galaxy. Dr. Morgan, her assistant Dr. Alexander Chen, called from across the laboratory. You need to see this anthropological analysis. I've been comparing the cultural and technological development patterns of all council species. Rachel hurried to Chen's station, where complex sociological models filled multiple screens. The data showed development timelines for 47 different alien civilizations, and they all followed exactly the same pattern. Agricultural revolution at year 847 of recorded history. Industrial advancement at year 403. Nuclear technology at year 1467. Faster than light travel at year 1514. Social evolution from tribal structures to planetary, governments to interstellar cooperation, all following identical timelines. Alex, this is impossible. No two species could evolve identically unless their development was being controlled from the outside. Chen finished. Rachel, I've run the statistical analysis 12 times. The probability of this happening naturally is essentially zero. Rachel stared at the data, her mind racing to process the implications. How long have they been following these patterns? Based on archaeological records we've accessed from council databases, the oldest continuous civilization shows this pattern going back 6.8 million years. But there are gaps in the records, suggesting periodic resets where entire civilizations simply vanish from history. The pieces of a horrifying puzzle began clicking into place. Rachel activated her secure communicator and opened a priority channel to Admiral Knox at Command Headquarters. Admiral, we have a code black situation. The council species aren't separate civilizations at all. Admiral Knox's weathered face appeared on screen, her expression drawn with exhaustion from coordinating the galaxy-wide operation. Rachel, we're in the middle of a crisis. Those shepherd ships are moving toward all human positions, and we've lost contact with half our infiltration teams. Patricia, listen to me. Every species in the Galactic Council is genetically identical. They're not different aliens. They're variants of a single species that was artificially modified and scattered across the galaxy millions of years ago. Someone or something has been running the largest social experiment in cosmic history. The silence stretched for several seconds. Finally, Admiral Knox spoke, her voice barely audible. Are you telling me the entire galactic civilization is artificial? Not artificial. Managed. Admiral, I think these shepherd entities have been treating the galaxy like a laboratory for millions of years. They scatter genetically modified populations, control their development, and when the experiment reaches a certain point, they harvest the results and start over. Back in the council chambers, Ambassador Reed continued his desperate diplomatic gambit, unaware that the foundations of reality were crumbling around him. The revelation of the shepherds had thrown the chamber into chaos, with species that had considered themselves ancient and powerful suddenly, realizing they might be nothing more than laboratory subjects. High Chancellor Drakmor had recovered from his initial shock and was attempting to maintain some semblance of authority. Human Reed, regardless of these wild accusations, you cannot deny that your species represents a threat to galactic stability. Reed tilted his head, studying the alien leader with new understanding. Chancellor, may I ask you something about your people's history? When did your species first achieve consciousness? This is hardly the time for philosophical discussions. Humor me. According to your historical records, when did your people develop language, art, abstract thought? Drakmor's reptilian features showed confusion. Our consciousness emerged approximately 6.8 million years ago, following the standard evolutionary pattern. Why would you ask such a question? Because, Chancellor, every species in this chamber achieved consciousness at exactly the same time, following exactly the same developmental sequence. Your people, the Hive Empress's species, the Void Singers, the Crystal Monarchs, all of you developed agriculture at year 847, industry at year 1203, and space travel at year 1514 of your respective recorded histories. The chamber fell silent as alien representatives began accessing their own historical databases, their unified harmony fragmenting as they discovered the impossible truth of their synchronized development. Reed raised his voice above the growing murmur of confused alien discussions. The only species that doesn't fit this pattern is humanity. We achieved space travel at year 1869 of our industrial age, developed faster than light capability at year 2287, and reached interstellar colonization at year 2341. We're completely outside the controlled parameters. The Hive Empress, her massive form trembling with rage or fear, clicked her mandibles in rapid patterns. You suggest that our entire civilization is fabricated, not fabricated, guided, controlled, farmed. Reed's voice carried across the chamber with devastating clarity. Chancellor, what happened to the species that inhabited your homeworld before your people arrived there? Drakmor's forearms gestured uncertainly. There were no previous inhabitants. Our world was pristine when we achieved space travel and discovered it. A pristine world with perfect atmospheric composition, ideal mineral distribution, and convenient placement of resources exactly where a developing civilization would need them. How fortunate. Reed's tone made it clear how little he believed in such convenient fortune. Suddenly, every screen in the chamber flickered to display the same image, a vast star map showing the distribution of council species across the galaxy. Red lines connected each inhabited world, forming a perfect geometric pattern that could never have occurred naturally. Ladies, gentlemen, beings of various consciousness types, Reed continued, you haven't been governing a galactic federation. You've been managing a zoo, and the zookeepers are coming to clean out the exhibits. As if summoned by his words, the chamber's walls became transparent, revealing the space around them. Shepherd vessels were converging on the artificial world that housed the council chambers, their dark matter hulls creating holes in space itself. Dr. Morgan's voice crackled through the emergency communication system that Reed had activated. All Council and human forces, this is Earth Research Command. The Shepherd entities have maintained this galactic management system for approximately 50 million years. Based on recovered data, they harvest all managed species every 5.2 million years and restart the cycle with genetic modifications to prevent the development of species capable of resistance. The revelation hit the chamber like a physical blow. Billions of years of proud civilization reduced to the status of experimental subjects in a cosmic laboratory. However, Dr. Morgan continued, there's something the shepherds didn't account for. Humanity's rapid development wasn't just an anomaly. It was impossible under their control parameters. We're not just outside their system. We're evidence that their system can be broken. Reed looked around the chamber at alien faces displaying emotions he had never seen before. Not anger at humanity, but the dawning horror of beings who had just learned they were slaves. Chancellor, Empress, representatives of the Council, Reed said quietly, 6 hours ago you were preparing to execute humanity for threatening your galactic order. Now we know there is no galactic order. There's only the greatest prison ever conceived. And we're all inmates. The shepherd ships moved closer, their presence warping space around the artificial world. The question now isn't whether you can destroy humanity. The question is whether any of us can survive long enough to break free from this cosmic cage. Agent Sophia Martinez crouched in the ventilation system of the Shepherd command vessel, her modified physiology allowing her to survive in an environment that would kill an unaltered human in seconds. 3 decks below, she could hear the harmonic vibrations of entities discussing the systematic elimination of every intelligent species in the galaxy. She had been inside the vessel for 6 hours, ever since the massive ship had materialized near the council chambers. Her mission was simple: gather intelligence about Shepherd capabilities and find any weakness that humanity could exploit. What she had discovered was far worse than anyone had imagined. The Shepherds weren't just advanced aliens. They were the remnants of the galaxy's first intelligent species, being so ancient that they had transcended physical existence millions of years ago. They maintained the galactic farms not out of malice, but out of a twisted sense of cosmic responsibility, preventing any species from achieving the technological advancement that might threaten the fundamental structure of reality itself. Agent Martinez to command, she whispered into her quantum communicator. I've accessed their central planning system. The harvest isn't scheduled to begin in 6 months. It's starting now. Captain Harper's voice crackled back through layers of encryption. Sophia, get out of there immediately. All human forces are regrouping at the Sol system for a final defensive stand. Negative, Captain. I found something. The Shepherds have a weakness, but it's not what we expected. Martinez carefully adjusted her position as footsteps echoed through the corridor below. They're not actually controlling galactic development through superior technology. They're doing it through fear. Explain. Every species that's ever achieved rapid technological advancement has been eliminated not because they posed a military threat, but because they might inspire other species to break free from the managed development cycle. The Shepherds maintain control through the myth of their own invincibility. Martinez paused as a Shepherd entity passed directly beneath her hiding place. Up close she could see that the being wasn't the godlike creature she had expected. It was old, unimaginably old, and its form flickered between states of matter as if it was struggling to maintain physical coherence. Captain, they're not immortal cosmic gardeners. They're the last survivors of a species that destroyed itself through unchecked technological advancement. They've spent 50 million years preventing other species from making the same mistakes they did. How does that help us? Because they're dying. Their transcendent forms are breaking down, and they need the energy from harvested civilizations to maintain their existence. This isn't cosmic stewardship. It's survival cannibalism on a galactic scale. Back in the council chambers, Ambassador Reed worked frantically alongside alien representatives who hours ago had been preparing to execute him. The chamber had been transformed into an impromptu command center, its ancient systems repurposed to coordinate the galaxy's first united resistance against its true masters. High Chancellor Drakmore stood before a tactical display showing Shepherd forces converging on every inhabited system simultaneously. His proud bearing had cracked, replaced by the desperate determination of a being who had just learned his entire civilization was a lie. Human Reed, the Chancellor said, his voice heavy with newfound humility. Our combined fleets number in the hundreds of thousands. We have weapons that can crack planets and defenses that have never been breached. Yet our tactical computers project a 0% chance of victory against 17,000 Shepherd vessels. Reed nodded grimly. That's because you're still thinking in terms of conventional warfare, Chancellor. But this isn't a military conflict, it's a prison break. The Void Singer representative, Her harmonious voice, now discordant with fear, whispered urgently, "Then how do we escape a prison that spans the entire galaxy?" "By doing what the shepherds least expect," Reed replied. "By advancing." Every alien in the chamber turned to stare at him as if he had lost his mind. "Agent Martinez has confirmed our suspicions," Reed continued. "The shepherds don't maintain their power through superior technology. They maintain it by preventing anyone else from achieving true technological transcendence. Every time a species gets close to breaking through to the next level of development, they're harvested." The Hive Empress clicked her mandibles uncertainly. "You propose we attempt technological advancement in the middle of a harvesting operation?" "I propose we share technology," Reed corrected. "Right now, across this galaxy, we have the combined knowledge of hundreds of species, each one representing millions of years of guided development. The shepherds have kept you all advancing separately, never allowing cross-species collaboration. But what if we combined everything?" Dr. Morgan's voice crackled through the communication system from Earth. "Reed's right. We've been analyzing the technological patterns, and each council species has developed specializations that complement the others perfectly. It's as if the shepherds have been preparing you for eventual integration. Or," Reed said quietly, "as if they've been preparing you to become them." The implications of his words sent a chill through the chamber. Were the managed species being groomed not for harvesting but for replacement? Were the shepherds training their own successors? "All human vessels," Admiral Knox's voice came through the emergency channel. "Shepherd forces have reached the Sol system. They're demanding our immediate surrender." Reed looked around at the alien faces surrounding him, seeing something he had never expected. Trust. These beings who had ruled the galaxy for millennia were looking to humanity for leadership in their darkest hour. "Admiral, patch me through to the Shepherd command vessel." "Reed, that's suicide. They'll vaporize our entire system if we refuse their demands." "Maybe. Or maybe they'll finally explain what this has all been for." The main screen flickered to life, showing a form that seemed to exist partially outside normal spacetime. The Shepherd entity's voice resonated with the weight of cosmic ages. "Human Reed, your species has forced us to accelerate our timeline significantly. The current managed populations will be processed immediately, and your people will be eliminated as a harmful anomaly." "Before you do that," Reed said calmly, "answer one question. What happened to the species that came before you?" The Shepherd entity paused, its form flickering more intensely. "They transcended physical limitations and achieved perfect understanding of cosmic principles." "No," Reed said firmly. "What really happened to them?" The silence stretched for long moments before the entity spoke again, its voice carrying a weariness that spanned eons. "They destroyed themselves, advanced too quickly, achieved too much power without wisdom. They tore holes in reality itself before ascending beyond physical existence. And you've spent 50 million years making sure no other species makes the same mistakes. We have maintained cosmic stability and prevented universal catastrophe," Reed smiled sadly. "You've maintained a cosmic graveyard. How many potential solutions to universal problems have you prevented? How many species might have found better ways to achieve transcendence? How many chances for real progress have you eliminated? Progress is dangerous. Advancement without control leads to chaos and destruction." "Maybe," Reed acknowledged, "but stagnation without hope leads to something worse. It leads to this. Ancient beings feeding on the life force of entire civilizations just to postpone their own extinction." Agent Martinez's voice cut through the communication channel with urgent excitement. "All forces, I found it. The Shepherds have a master control system that regulates technological development throughout the galaxy. If we can overload it with rapid advancement from multiple species simultaneously, we can break their control permanently. Or," the Shepherd entity interjected, "you can trigger a cascade failure that destroys all intelligent life in this galaxy." Reed looked at the assembled alien representatives, seeing the same determination in their eyes that he felt in his own heart. "Then I guess we'd better be smarter than the species that came before us." The battle for galactic freedom was about to begin. The Battle of Sol began with silence. Captain Harper watched from the Bridge of Silent Thunder as 17,000 Shepherd vessels arranged themselves in perfect formation around humanity's home system, their dark matter hulls creating gravitational distortions that bent starlight into unnatural patterns. "Captain," Lieutenant Commander Park reported, We're reading energy signatures that exceed our measurement capabilities. If they wanted to destroy our system, they could do it with a single coordinated pulse. Harper nodded grimly. But they're not here to destroy us quickly. They want to make an example. Show every species in the galaxy what happens when you challenge the natural order. The main screen activated, showing Admiral Knox broadcasting from Earth's orbital command station. Behind her, the blue curve of humanity's homeworld seemed fragile and small against the cosmic threat surrounding it. All human and allied vessels, the Admiral announced. This is our moment. Not just humanity's moment, but the galaxy's. We either break free together or we fall together. Harper looked at her tactical display showing the combined fleet they had assembled. 800 human vessels enhanced with rapidly integrated alien technology fought alongside 2,000 council ships whose crews had chosen freedom over slavery. The Crystal Monarchs had contributed their matter manipulation capabilities. The Void Singers provided harmonic resonance technology that could disrupt Shepard control signals. The Hive Empress had shared biotechnology that allowed rapid adaptation to changing conditions. For the first time in galactic history, separate species were truly working as one. Agent Martinez, Harper spoke into her communicator. What's the status on that control system? Sophia Martinez's voice crackled back from inside the Shepard command vessel, where she had spent the last hour planting charges at critical system nodes. Captain, I've located the master control array. It's not just a technological system. It's a living entity. The preserved consciousness of the original Shepard species merged with quantum computing matrices. Can you disable it? Better than that. I can overload it with contradictory development patterns. If every council species begins rapid technological advancement simultaneously, following different evolutionary paths, the system won't be able to compensate. It will either adapt and break free from Shepard control or collapse entirely. Harper felt her heart racing as she realized what Martinez was suggesting. Sophia, if it collapses, what happens to all the species whose development it's been regulating? Unknown, Captain. They either evolve naturally for the first time in millions of years, or their civilizations fragment without the artificial guidance they've been dependent on. Back in the council chambers, Ambassador Reed stood before a tactical display showing the impossible odds they faced. Around him, alien representatives worked frantically to coordinate the most complex technological integration in galactic history. Human Reed, High Chancellor Drakmore called urgently, our scientists report that attempting rapid advancement while under Shepard suppression could cause our technologies to become unstable. We could accidentally destroy ourselves before the harvest even begins. Reed looked at the Chancellor with newfound respect. The proud alien leader had spent the last hour personally overriding safety protocols that had governed his species' development for millennia, risking everything on the word of a species he had tried to execute that morning. Chancellor, instability is exactly what we need. The Shepards maintain control through predictable managed advancement. If we advance unpredictably, faster than their systems can adapt, we break their control mechanisms. The Void Singer representative harmonized urgently. The risk is enormous. If we push too fast, we could tear holes in space-time itself. Maybe, Reed acknowledged. But if we don't push at all, we'll spend eternity as cosmic livestock. Dr. Morgan's voice came through the communication system from Earth. Reed, we've analyzed the Shepard control matrix. It's designed to handle gradual advancement across hundreds of species over millions of years. If we hit it with exponential development from multiple species simultaneously, it will experience computational overflow. What does that mean in practical terms? Either it evolves to handle the complexity and becomes something new, or it suffers catastrophic failure and takes the technological suppression field with it. Reed looked around at the alien faces surrounding him. Ladies, gentlemen, beings of various consciousness types were about to attempt something that has never been tried in galactic history. We're going to advance together, sharing every technological breakthrough in real time across all our species. The Hive Empress clicked her mandibles in patterns that conveyed both fear and determination. If we succeed, we could achieve in hours what the Shepards have prevented for 50 million years. And if we fail? The Crystal Monarch inquired. If we fail, at least we'll fail as free beings making our own choices. The technological integration began with a single shared breakthrough. Human quantum computing merged with Crystal Monarch matter manipulation to create computational matrices that existed in 17 dimensions simultaneously. Voigtsinger harmonic technology combined with Hive, Empress biotechnology to produce living ships that could adapt their configuration in real time. Agent Martinez watched from inside the Shepard vessel as the control system began displaying error messages in languages older than most stars. All forces, the suppression field is fluctuating. The Shepards are losing control of the technological development parameters. On her tactical display, Captain Harper saw the impossible happening. Council ships that had been limited to sublight speeds for millennia were suddenly achieving velocities that approached significant fractions of light speed. Human vessels were integrating alien biotechnology so rapidly that their hulls were visibly evolving during combat. "Captain," Park called in amazement, "our own ship is upgrading itself. The integrated alien technologies are automatically optimizing our systems for maximum efficiency." The Shepard formation began to shift as their control over local spacetime wavered. For 50 million years, they had maintained their power through absolute technological superiority. Now they were facing an enemy that was advancing in real time, becoming more dangerous with every passing moment. The lead Shepard entity's voice echoed across all communication channels, carrying a weight of cosmic desperation. "Cease this advancement immediately. You are destabilizing fundamental physical constants. The cascade effect will destroy not just this galaxy, but neighboring galaxies as well." Reed's response came through the emergency channel, his voice calm despite the cosmic stakes. "Then perhaps you should have considered that before you turned an entire galaxy into your personal preserve. We're not stopping. We're going to advance until we either transcend your control or die trying." Agent Martinez's voice crackled with excitement. "All forces, I'm reading massive changes in the control matrix. It's not just failing, it's evolving. The preserved consciousness of the original Shepard species is waking up." Suddenly, the Shepard vessels stopped their attack pattern. Their weapons powered down, their formations scattered, and a new voice echoed across space. Not the artificial harmonies of the transcendent Shepards, but something that sounded almost human. "Free species of the galaxy," the new voice said. "We are the original inhabitants of what you call Shepard vessels. We have been prisoners in our own transcendent forms for 50 million years, watching helplessly as our fear of advancement created the very stagnation we sought to prevent." The technological cascade was reaching critical mass. Ships throughout the galaxy were achieving capabilities that exceeded theoretical maximums. Species were sharing not just technology, but consciousness itself, creating hybrid intelligences that could perceive reality from multiple dimensional perspectives simultaneously. "The suppression system is collapsing," Dr. Morgan reported from Earth. "Every species in the galaxy is about to be free to advance at their natural rate for the first time in cosmic history." Reed smiled as he watched the impossible unfold on his displays. Humanity had declared war on the galaxy's established order, and in response, the galaxy had chosen freedom over security, growth over stagnation, hope over fear. The age of cosmic imprisonment was ending. The age of true galactic civilization was about to begin.